Hello, and thank you for joining this fourth annual International Day of Women in Statistics and Data Science Conference with this year's theme, Thriving in Your Environment. We are recording the event and the videos will be available on the CWS YouTube channel. We kindly ask you to post your questions to the upcoming panel in the Q&A chat. Without further ado, I welcome you to this panel session, number 126, Thriving in Multidisciplinary Spaces, Lessons in Leadership, Confidence, and Self-Advocacy for Women in Data Science. My name's Hannah Watson. I'm an Associate Professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the organizer is Ghazal Azafar from University Health Network. Ghazal, do you have all of your panelists here?
Mailing Hay, I haven't found Dr. Hay yet, but Dr. Citro is here, and then Dr. Hay is here as well. Dr. Sayed Sajjadi mentioned that she cannot attend in person, but she sent video recording to the questions of the panel and shared them with me last night.
Sure. Are you comfortable to get going, or would you like to wait another moment?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I'll now hand the session over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this fourth annual of the International Day of Women in Statistics and Data Science Conference. With this year's theme, Thriving in Your Environment, we are recording the event and the videos will be available on the Caucus for Women in Statistics YouTube channel. We kindly ask you to post your questions to the speaker in the QA chat. With further ado, I'm delighted to host this session. Thriving in Multidisciplinary Spaces, Lessons in Leadership, Confidence, Self-Advocacy for Women in Data Science, and to introduce our first panelist. Dr. Annalisa Citro is a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Minnesota, where she applies advanced data analysis and modeling techniques to study the galaxy Bourbon cycle. Her groundbreaking work leverages the James Webb Space Telescope as a time machine to trace how chemical elements build up in the early galaxies. Our second speaker is Dr. Mei-Ling He, a senior data science manager at Lockware Automation, where she leads senior data scientists and ML engineers in developing cutting-edge AI, Gen AI, and automation solution that drives innovation across sales, engineering, manufacturing, and customer engagement. Dr. He recently earned her executive MBA from Northwestern University, adding strategic leadership training to her deep technical expertise. Our last panelist is Dr. Neda Sayed Sajjadi, who were not able to attend the meeting in person and is kindly participating by sharing her video recordings. She is a research scientist at the University of Illinois Fire Service Institute, whose work focuses on early cancer detection in firefighters through biomarkers discovery and data-driven risk modeling. Her interdisciplinary research bridges biomedical sciences, computational methods, and public health to address real-world challenges in firefighters' occupational exposure and health disparities. That women made only 35% of STEM graduates and 22% of the STEM workforce in the G20 countries. Despite progress, women still remain underrepresented in many STEM fields, especially in senior roles. We are all mentors in making, and here we share lessons about our life experiences as women in scientific environment. This year is the 20th anniversary of the book called Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office, and the book is still relevant. Our discussions are inspired by the book. Each panelist will begin with a short opening statement, followed by a moderated discussion and Q&A. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we examine how we can responsibly and effectively bring AI to bedside. Let's start with our panelists' point of view on today's topic, women in science. What does this theme mean to you personally and professionally? Dr. Citro?
I'm here. Yeah, sorry, I was having some problems here with the audio. So thank you for the introduction and hello, everyone. My idea and my approach for this session today is, of course, stems from the fact that I am, of course, a woman in STEM, and I am very aware of all the challenges that women go through and I had this firsthand during my undergrad studies, and also when I was like a PhD student. I was working in not only a male-dominated environment, but I also had a supervisor that it was a very hierarchical kind of situation, and so I felt always very devalued and very judged, and that really chipped away my confidence. And I think that that was very bad because it happened in a moment where I was just starting to go from, being a student to kind of work on things and do real research. And I was kind of finding my style, and that really affected the years that came after that. So I wish I had at that time somebody that could help me and help me in the sense of giving me practical advice on what to do to improve the situation, to deal with difficult situations and moments. And I did not have anybody. So for today and for this session, what I hope is to kind of give you some practical advice based on my experience or on some research that I've done to make things better. And of course, also to give you some, support in case you are leaving or you leave the situation like that, and make you also feel like, even with the difficulties, you can keep going and get to a good place, just like I am right now.
Dr. He, how about you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Gajal. Thank you, Annalisa. So, this topic does resonate with me a lot. Women in science. When I studied my undergrad, we had only 8 girls and 48 male students in the same department. And we had so many different events that would require voting from all those students. And gaining only 8 votes from female wasn't enough. We have to gain majority vote from male students. And at the time, I didn't realize how important it was to be aware of people who were not naturally similar to me. I have very different point of view on things. Now I'm in IT organization, and most of the employees again are male. And then over the time, I started to realize that I'm still learning, but I do realize that it's very critical to learn from people who are different from us, learn from their point of view, learn from where they're coming from in general, and then from there, we will be able to do something impactful by having more people you understand and having them understand you, having better communication. So through the panel today, I would like to have a deeper dive into the practical practices in real world and how could maybe communication and better understanding of others and some practical tactics that we could share for our real world usage. Thank you.
And here is the answer from Dr. Neda Sayed Sajedi.
Creating multidisciplinary scientific environment, I've experienced both the challenges and opportunities that come with building a career in spaces that were not always designed with women or minorities in mind. Today, I'm excited to share some reflections and strategies that have helped me grow professionally while staying true to who I am. I hope these insights will resonate with the students, postdocs, and early career researchers who are finding their own path in science and data, and who deserve to lead, believe, and define success on their own terms.
Could you share any defining moment in your journey that shaped your path as a woman in science? Dr. He.
Annalisa, you want to go first?
I can go first. Sure. Is that okay, Gazelle, if I go first?
Of course, yes.
So, a defining moment. So, okay, so as I said before, I struggled a lot with, being confident, having confidence, and also I am struggling a lot with the imposter syndrome, which is something that probably you all know what it is and maybe experienced. So, of course, one very important moment for me and for my career was when 2 years ago I had this grant. I won this grant for these observations with the James Webb Telescope. And that was very good, of course, because now I have this little light in my, career that, when I go down the rabbit hole of feeling very bad, I can look at that moment and think, okay, at least I did that, so I might not be, maybe I'm good at doing what I do. But then thinking about that moment, actually the defining moment is not really the fact that I get the grant, that I got the grant, but the defining moment was the moment when I had this little idea about these observations, and instead of just thinking, okay, this idea is not good enough, I had the courage to go to my current boss, my current advisor for my postdoc, and just tell her this idea, which then, revealed to be successful. So I think that the defining moments in one's career are not just, big things, but it's just the smaller moments of courage that we have. That is when we believe in ourselves and in our ideas. And for women in science, it's for sure hard to build up your confidence when you are in an environment which is hard to navigate. And so I think that just having the courage of at least expressing your idea and believing that they might be good ideas. So I think that that's kind of what is defining my career also now, just because I learned to have this courage from that moment. And it's very recent, like it's only 2 years ago, and I've done this job for a long time. So it takes time, but I got there. So I think that's what I would say.
Hey, very cool, Annalisa. So for me, I had two defining moments that really shaped my path as a woman in science. The first was when I was when I was young, probably somewhere around high school time. Um, through my parents' business connections, I had the chance to meet engineers that working at the local power plants. And I talked to them a lot through different events, and they were some of the coolest people that I have met in my early age. Um, they were always very, very sophisticated, knowledgeable. Some of them were engineer and business together, in business together, so they well-rounded, I would say. Looking up to them really inspired me to pursue engineering in college. Then I went to the electrical engineering program, and then the second moment came to me was during my PhD. My advisor at the time had a very profound influence on me. He taught me how to think creatively. He always challenge me the ideas and push boundaries. for me, and he also helped me realize that my limit is actually larger than I ever imagined. I could actually come up with a brand new idea in a week that he wanted me to put together. And then even sometimes probably we don't really read a lot of papers in order to come up with an idea. Sometimes we might be able to come to solution by thinking deeply. A lot of those ideas from him really influenced me a lot in my later career. Then I started to work at industry and submitted many IP with my manager. I would say a lot of those come from my earlier career with my connection as well as with my PhD advisor. So yeah, next to you, Neda.
Yeah, but before we go to Nedas, I wanted to actually just say something about what Mei Ling said. That is so true. Like I am, the fact that, you know, we believe that we have, we just don't believe that we believe that we can do less than we can actually do. And that's very true. Like I'm writing these proposals again, and that's a moment that it's like crazy. Everybody, you know, is just writing proposals for weeks. And you know, the other day I woke up and I had no idea how to do one thing. Like my boss said, we should do this in this proposal, and I had no idea how to do it. And then at the end of the day, I had done it. And so it's just incredible how, you know, we can do more than what we think. So it's really true, Mei Ling. Thank you for bringing that up. It's very true.
Of course, Annalisa.
And here is Dr. Sayed Sajjadi's input.
One defining moment in my journey came early in my career during a project where I was the only woman in a multidisciplinary team of senior researchers. Despite having deep expertise in the subject matter, I noticed my ideas were often overlooked until they were echoed by someone else. At first, I internalized it. I questioned whether I was being clear enough, confident enough, or even whether I belonged in that role. But over time, I realized that the issue wasn't my competence. It was a subtle but powerful dynamic that many women in science face. That experience pushed me to unleash some of the habits that were holding me back, like downplaying my contributions or waiting to be invited into conversation. I began to speak with more clarity, to take credit for my work, and to advocate not just for myself, but for others who were being overlooked. It also inspired me to mentor younger women, to help them recognize their value early on and navigate these environments with confidence. That moment taught me that training in science isn't just about technical excellence. It's also about learning how to stand in your own power, especially when the environment doesn't naturally make room for you. And that realization has shaped every step of my career since.
It was all very interesting. How would you make your voice heard in a male-dominant working environment? Dr. Citro.
Here I am. Okay, so, well, what I think that here, like what I want to say is what, you know, I would do not only in like a male dominated environment, but in every environment where you're feeling devalued or left out. And I think that here the keywords are probably strategy and resilience. I think that unfortunately this, you know, living in a male-dominated environment requires some in being intentional about what to do. I don't think that you can just say, okay, with time, maybe, you know, the situation is going to change, or, you know, it's just that you have to be intentional about a few things that you can do. And some of them are that I'm gonna tell you, which I find useful, are small things, but I think that they can make a difference. So these are really like small, very practical things. I think that, for example, one is always when you are like in a meeting, also where there's males or you're feeling, left out, just use I statements always to describe your work. Just don't give anybody any possibility to think that you're not confident or responsible for your work and your success. And also another thing is when you like go to conferences or when there are bigger meetings in your department, introduce yourself with your title. This is something I never do because I'm not that kind of person. I don't know why it comes difficult to me, but it's something that I actually, not force myself to do, push myself to do. Yes, that's the right word. The other thing is something that, well, like did some research, and it's very interesting because these are things that men do. So what I'm telling you, like the fact that they using I statements or introducing with your title, this is something that men do much more than women. So that's interesting. The other thing, for example, that men do that we don't do a lot is uh, publishing or sharing, their results or their work on social media or like on Slack channels and just like advertise themselves. And so I think that this is something else that also is very important to do to thrive in a male-dominated environment. And then the other thing is, you could also if you struggle with visibility in a male-dominated environment, I think that another very good thing to do would be to just be honest. Like if you are in a circle of people that you trust, your advisor, your supervisors, just ask directly, can you like introduce me to like this colleague, or can you nominate me to be on this panel? Just like do that to gain visibility. And then the other thing I think is to just speak in a way that gives you that shows you that you are confident. So just cling on to your confidence. And so, yeah, these are just a few things that I think that I am pushing myself to do. And I'm not saying that I do them all of them or that I'm good at all of them, but these are the things that are little things that I try to do.
For me, my situation is probably a little bit different from many others. As a girl raised in my family, when my grandpa and father are really powerful, so they raised me up in a way that they expected me to be a quiet girl. So they expected me to also listen carefully. That might be my strength, and not interrupt them when they're talking. So, so for a long time, I took being quiet as a merit, as as an advantage of me being a good girl. And then I came to the world that especially when I start to work, I realized that I need to really talk. And as a manager, I really need to let my team know like what I need to do. And when I was a TA at school, I really need to like talk a lot so that my students understand. So over the time, I feel that growing up in a male dominant family and then enter into male dominant world, I think being well prepared and being communicative is those two things are extraordinarily important. I also have another challenge. I grew up with hearing loss, so I couldn't really collect a lot of information through face-to-face communication. Luckily, right now we have Zoom, we have Teams, so we got a lot of transcripts printed out on the Zoom, so I can communicate even better through that way. So yeah, I do have many difficulties to encounter in the normal male dominant universe. So I have been training myself to basically well prepared before, during, and after every single communication. I follow up. I never let now I'm manager at the team. I never really let my communication passing through without a follow up. I always share meeting minutes. And I always follow up with my customers whenever they request for something. They always get answers. So those help me a lot. And I would say AI helped me a lot as well. So thanks technology. So overall, being over communicative for the first thing, being over prepared. That's it. Thank you.
And here is the answer from our other panelists.
My first piece of advice is know that your presence in science is not only valid, but necessary. You bring unique perspectives that are essential for innovation and progress. But I also want to acknowledge that the path may not always feel welcoming, and that's not a reflection of your ability or worth. One strategy I found powerful is to build your own support network. Here is mentors and sponsors who see your potential and will advocate for you when you're not in the room. You don't have to navigate this journey alone, and community is critical to resilience. Second, be intentional about honoring the internalized message that tells you to stay quiet, to be nice, at the expense of being respected, or to wait for permission to lead. It's okay to take up space, to ask for opportunities, to set boundaries, and to speak about your accomplishment without apology. Also seek out environments and people who align with your values. And when possible, help create those environments for others. A systematic change is slow, but collective influence is powerful. But lastly, remember that thriving doesn't mean being perfect. It means staying curious, being persistent, learning from setbacks, and continuing to define success on your own terms, not somebody else's.
Our next question is about any advice to the women who are just starting in scientific fields, and they may face systematic barriers.
Who should start? Me? Okay, that's perfect. So this is what I want to bring up here. It's something that is very sad for me, and it's something that I learned kind of recently, that this is a real thing that happens. So because I couldn't believe it, it's the fact that when women get hired, the hiring committees are actually biased against women, in the sense that if they have do two applications, one from a man and one from a woman, they try to be they make assumptions about women that are, of course, negative assumptions. And this is something that I learned from, so I knew that probably this was something that might be going on. But then there was, last year, I went to a conference, and there was this professor, and he's Mexican, so he's part of a minority. And he has been on many committees and said, yeah, this is something that really happens. There's really this bias, and it was very sad. And so I thought, okay, what can we do? Because, I am honestly right now in the process of applying for a new job, which probably, hopefully, would be a faculty position. But in general, it's pretty scary that that this happens. So the assumption that unfortunately are made mostly are these are biases that come from the assumption that assumptions about commitment, about competence, and about leadership. So people tend to see men as being more committed, more competent, and have a stronger leadership. So I think that if you are somebody in the audience in the process of applying for new jobs, I think that that there are a few things that can be done. First of all, start from your CV and try in your CV to be to highlight these things, to highlight the commitment, the competence, and the leadership. So a few ways that you can do that is highlight commitment. If you have, for example, long-term collaborations, just highlight those. If you have, for example, to highlight your leadership, you have mentoring experience, teaching experience, TAing experience, just say that. And then to highlight your competence in the CV, that's a matter of language. So try always to use an active language instead of a passive language. For example, don't say I helped with a proposal or a project, but say I co-led this proposal. So try to be always active. So put yourself in an active kind of position through your language. The other thing is that, of course, and this might be kind of stronger suggestions, but might be very useful, is the fact that before you apply for a position, I think that a good thing to do would be to always ask the person that is going to hire you, what are the criteria that are going to be used to evaluate the application, so that you can always tailor your application based on what the hiring person tells you. This is, of course, if you are on the side of being an applicant. If you are on the other side and you are a woman on a committee and you know that this is going on, I think that the two most important things to do would be to, first of all, clarify what are the evaluation criteria from the beginning of the hiring day. Because I think that if the criteria are written black on white, I think that people are more, willing to actually follow very clear rules. And also just name patterns that you see. So if you really see that there is a pattern that is, devaluating or coming from assumptions that are done towards women, just speak up and just bring that up. Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Annalisa. So yeah, for me, my advice to young women who try to be in the field but having some difficulty would be stay open and keep moving forward, keep going, don't stop, even though things feel uncertain and difficult. So when I just finished my college overseas in China and decided to come to the United States for pursuing my master's degree, I actually felt quite lost. I lost my interest in math and physics when I was at school. I fell in love in data science and database and introduction to data mining, but I wasn't sure if I should continue studying in engineering. At the time, AI wasn't a thing, wasn't a big thing as big as it is right now. So I had an agent at the time who helped me look for schools in the United States, and he encouraged me to continue pursuing engineering, and I'm so glad I did take his advice. So just like NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang once said, don't just do what you're interested in, find interest in what you do. And I would say, because I continue pursuing engineering, I started to fall in love with engineering. So I would say now I probably have been in this field for almost 2 decades. And then it just started to become easier and easier every year to me. I developed my intuition in this field. And when I was studying electrical engineering, there was actually a branch in data science, and I later pursued data science focused um, engineering, and then I fell in love with it. And then so my advice for all those younger women, don't let the temporary doubt or systematic barriers define your path. Keep going, keep learning, keep staying curious, and allow your passion to deepen over the year. You will just a lot of things just when you just get started, it's challenging, difficult, and impossible. But when you get deeper and deeper, it's less and less people will be in that deep, and then it will become easier and easier for you.
Thank you. These are all great points. Here is Dr. Sadretti's input.
Making your voice heard in a male-dominant environment often requires more than just speaking up. It requires a strategy, confidence, and community. One thing I've learned is that preparation and expertise are powerful tools. When I walk into a room knowing my material inside out, I speak with more clarity and authority, and it's harder for others to dismiss my input. At the same time, I had to learn the habit of waiting for the perfect moment to contribute. Often women are socialized to be cautious, to avoid seeming too assertive. But in reality, your voice deserves space just as much as anyone else's. Over time, I started to speak early in meetings, offer my perspective without hedging, and take credit for my contribution. I also became intentional about building alliances, finding colleagues, including male allies who respected my work and were willing to amplify my voice when needed. There is power in not navigating it alone. Another approach that helps is using calm, assertive communication, especially in situations where ideas are challenged or ignored. I've learned to circle back to points that were overlooked and reassert them with confidence rather than letting them slide. Most importantly, I remind myself that being heard is not about matching someone else's volume or style. It's about owning your space, trusting your expertise, and recognizing that you don't have to change who you are to be effective. You just need to stop shrinking.
Our next question is about like life transitions in females' life, like starting a family alongside demanding careers. How have you approached balancing personal milestones, such as pregnancy, caregiving, or other life challenges? And what kind of support structure would you have like in your mind?
So I actually am in the process to, just build my family. And so I feel close to this, question very much. And I had some life transitions when like I moved, for example, I moved in with my husband and, things changed but also big life events, not necessarily transitions that really, give me a hard time, and they needed me to transition or changing my way of working. So I think that here there are three important things that I would say. So the first is very important, reframing. So I think that every time that there is that there is a life transition, we tend to see as a disruption of the way that we are used to work. And this is very true. For example, when I moved in with my husband, I said, oh my God, how am I going to keep working as these hours that I'm used to work now that there is always another person in the house? And that was kind of like scary. But actually, I think that the point here is not to look at the transition as a disruption, but just as a shift of priorities. I think so. I think that it can be seen as an opportunity also to be more creative about your work, to explore things that maybe you haven't explored before. So, for example, you are overwhelmed with too many things to do. If you are a mom, or you are busy with your life, I think that one important question to ask yourself would be, what can I do right now? What is the kind of job of work that is going to energize me? So for example, in my job, as I said, I have to prepare write proposals to get grants and get new ideas and stuff like that. But I think that it would be okay to say, okay, maybe for this period of time, I'm just gonna be more productive in working with data that I already have, and work on that. So kind of use your energy in a wise way, not trying to do too much. So this is one of the things. Or for example, is it okay for me to work alone on this project? Maybe it's time for me in this period of time to have some collaborators that can help me to do this work. So I think that, and these are things that maybe you wouldn't think about if you were just in your normal way of working. The other thing is, of course, communicating. I think that when you are in a life transition, asking for your needs is something that is very right to do. So, for example, you have to go to a conference or there is a meeting, just ask for a virtual meeting if you cannot join in person. Or also, if you have to organize a meeting, regular meetings in your department, just ask for flexible hours or for a time, for a time schedule that works for you. And I think that that's very easy to do, especially if you have a circle of trusted people that you can ask. And then other thing, being very gentle with yourself. I think that in very hard moments, we can be hard on ourselves if maybe we don't do as much work as we are used to do. And so I think that celebrating the small wins is important. There might be days where you just are able to send one email or to do one plot, and that's something that you should celebrate. And you might say, well, but I feel the pressure to publish papers. I feel the pressure to do this, to not be left out. And that's perfectly fine. But there are also, in this case, ways that you can reframe things. So, for example, you could decide for a period of time to be a second author or a third author, which, it's still a good thing. If you look at the H index of people that have like a very high H index, it's because they have a lot of papers that are not at first name. So that's something that can be done, or maybe writing only short papers for a while. Or you are afraid that maybe you are left out from like conferences because you don't have time to go and show your work. Then maybe you can contribute with a plot, or give a contribution on a collaborator's paper that is working on your same topic, and that maybe can go and present at a conference.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dr. Hay, any advice from you?
Okay. So for me, the honest idea is the more practical answer would be outsourcing. So I'm more career driven in my household. I don't try to do everything myself, especially when there is transitioning, like we're moving around the city. We have the at the time I needed to go back to school because I applied for business school, so I had to. That was huge to me after I got my PhD. I had another school parallel with my work, and then we move around. So a lot of things going on in general. So what I would typically do is outsource. I sometimes outsource to my partner, my fiance. Actually, he cooks more than I do at home. And then yeah, sometimes when we move around, I usually will outsource the packing even. Even within the same city, sometimes I really don't have time. I need to both go to school um and then at home I have to work from home all day. And sometimes I literally sit in front of my PC computer from 7 a.m. all the way to 12. There was no way I could do anything else besides work. Um, and maybe in the weekend we'll go out and do some exercise. And we got to feel something fun in our life. So then the rest of the thing I usually, if I'm able, I will outsource. And I do that. And then once in a while we will do the major housekeeping, cleaning the place where we live. So a lot of those things I don't do that myself. I would say the key is I'm very intentional about where I spend my time. If I spend my time in work, which is more important to me, um, then I do better at work. Um, and if I spend more time in exercising, I will be more healthy. And then I really spend very minimal time on things that I'm not that interested in. And I can imagine in the future when I have baby, I could do the similar thing, outsource as much as possible, getting help um, from others, from parents. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. And here is like the answer to the last question from Dr. Sajedi.
Through my career, I've experienced major life transitions that require me to navigate competing demands, whether it was taking on caregiving responsibilities, managing personal health, or supporting family through difficult times. These moments reminded me that our lives are not separate from our career. They're intertwined, and we carry those experiences with us into our work. One important lesson I've learned is to acknowledge and accept that priorities shift, and that's not a sign of weakness or lack of ambition. I had to give myself permission to slow down at times, to say no, and to focus on sustainability rather than constant output. What's made a real difference for me are supportive professional relationships, colleagues, mentors, and leaders who value flexibility, who understand that life happens, and who judge performance by impact, not on hours logged. Creating an environment like that should not be the exception, it should be the standard. I've also learned the importance of setting boundaries and being clear about my needs, even if that felt uncomfortable at first. That clarity helps build mutual respect and create a space for both professional and personal growth. Ultimately, balancing these transitions has taught me resilience, empathy, and perspective. Qualities that have strengthened my leadership and deepened my commitment to mentoring others through their own challenges.
Any like final points from our panelists?
I think maybe we can leave some space to questions. Otherwise, we can maybe have just a little bit of conversation. But let's see if there are some questions. If they should pop up in the chat, right? If there are, right?
Yes. I will be happy to hear your questions if the audience have any questions or like they have like points that they want to be discussed.
I'll share a couple of comments just while we're waiting to see if any questions appear. I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for sharing your insights and your very practical guidance. And it's clear how committed you are to mentoring, the next generation of up and coming scientists and researchers. And I loved some of the remarks about how, it's not those big defining moments like getting a particular grant that really do matter at the end of the day. It's, those smaller moments of having the courage to step up and pursue an idea, no matter what anybody's thinking, that really bring us the most fulfillment. So I thought that was a really lovely sentiment. And some other thoughts that I thought were great were talking about your own experiences of, meeting role models, as you were younger and having, experiences with people close to you that help you see the potential in you for what you could become. So let me just have a look and see if any questions have appeared. Okay, we do have a question from Monica Johnston. So she asks, do you utilize free sources outside your workplace, such as mentoring groups, Toastmasters, or leadership circles to add to your confidence? I invite anybody on the panel who would like to address that question.
Yes. I can speak to that. So through my business school, I got 76 other classmates. Majority of them are higher up in the organization, so they are my mentor. And I do schedule monthly call with one of them just to chat about what I could do better in the organization. And then I am also having a startup on the side that I talk to my partners regularly, almost every day. So they help me a lot in growing in my career-wise. And I do participate in Toastmaster within the company just to improve my presentation. Whenever I have time, I will join them.
Okay, we do have some other comments and questions, so I think we should move on to the next ones. What mistakes have you made in your careers and how have you moved forward given those experiences? Asks Elizabeth Eisenhower.
Well, a mistake. So I think that's so one mistake I made that I'm trying to like correct now is the fact that since I didn't have a lot of confidence, I also didn't work a lot on my visibility. So, for example, I don't know, I look at the number of citations on my paper or go to a conference and realize that I don't have a lot of connections. And that was a very sad realization, and that I think is a mistake that I made. And but I did, I was taken by this, kind of fear, but also, the courage of saying, okay, I have to do something about it because I don't want to feel like this anymore. And so I started, working on the visibility situation, but in very easy ways that actually worked. So, for example, I started sending an email to people that might be interested in a new paper that I wrote, and just saying, hey, I want to point you to this paper that I wrote, and maybe I got a citation, or just ask, hey, can you, to my small circle of researchers and collaborators, can you invite me to give a talk at your institution? And that worked a lot. I have a paper that I published in 2021 and has three citations. And then I have a paper that I published in this past July, and it has 9 citations. So it's just, it's crazy how these very small things made a huge difference. So a mistake you make a lot of mistakes, but I think you can correct them.
I myself had made mistakes as well. I've been working with between different fields, and each field has their own cultures. For example, once we were writing a paper, and in the field that I was working before, usually we added anyone who provided any idea or feedback or reviewed the paper, for us, we would have added their name. But it seems like in other fields, sometimes they do this out of kindness, and I wasn't aware. And I added the names of the people who actually helped me in writing the paper at the top of as an author. And then by the time I just realized, that fields are different, cultures are different, we should understand what's going on. And then sometimes mistakes can we can solve our mistakes just by trying to understand more and more people around us. It might not happen overnight, but we can, by understanding, we can correct for the next time.
Yeah, thank you for those responses. And we can't have success without failures and making mistakes, because they're really learning opportunities for us.
Yeah.
We have some other comments. I love these stories of persistence and curiosity despite the challenges. Cynthia says, so Heil says, thank you, the talk was useful. Bonita, thank you, ladies, for your words of wisdom. There are a couple of other questions there. I think we have about 1 more minute to wrap up. Would you like me to ask a question, or are there any closing words that you might like to share?
I don't know, maybe we can share some closing words so that we can, since we have just a minute, I would say just keep your head up and just keep going and be courageous on your ideas.
Yes, and that will pave the way and make the path easier for, women coming after us. As Priscilla in the comments is pointing out, things have improved a lot for women in science since her first position in 1966. So if we keep at it, we can uplift and progress not only our own paths, but those of others around us.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you to our panelists, Annalisa, Nida, Mei Ling, and Ghazal, for a wonderful and informative discussion. And thank you to everyone who attended and for your wonderful questions. Coming up next is our final keynote session. Please stay tuned and we'll get our speaker ready and begin in a few moments. Thank you.